Prophecy Club. Is Islam a religion of peace? What is wrong with allowing mosques in America? Does the Bible foretell the future of Islam? Who is the Leopard of Daniel chapter 7? Will Islam become a major world power? Will it invade the U.S.? What is al-Qaeda's 7-step plan to world domination? How does Islam destroy Western countries? Is Islam compatible with the Constitution? Will the Antichrist be a descendant of a Muslim? Is the Antichrist Arab? Who is the beast from the pit? Is Islam's Mahdi also the biblical Antichrist? Where does the Antichrist come from? Well, we're about to find out a few of these answers as we go over and listen to part of the audio of my brand new DVD, Islam in Bible Prophecy, in progress. Can a good Muslim be a good Christian? Therefore, after much study and deliberation, perhaps we should not be very suspicious of all Muslims. They cannot be both good Muslims and good Americans. Can a Muslim be a good soldier? The answer is no. Army Major Nidal Malik Hassan opened fire in Fort Hood and killed 13 people, and he is a good Muslim. The Muslims have said they will destroy us from within. You see, freedom is not free. Muslim killed Americans. November 5th, 2009, he shouted, Allahu Akbar, which means God is greatest. He opened fire in the soldier readiness center of the fort, killing 13, wounding 29 other Americans in the worst shooting ever to take place on any American military base. The bear in leopard skin. Dmitri Duduman had this vision, and I'm not reading all of it, I just want to take a paragraph at it. He says, I was speaking to one of my grandchildren who was staying with me. Suddenly, I saw a great beast appear in the doorway. I saw a great beast appear in the doorway of my room. It leaped at me with its jaws open, ready to tear me apart. Now, this is the part I want you to hear. It looked like a bear, as in a Russian bear, covered in leopard skin, as in Islam. It was large enough that I could stand fully erect inside its jaws. I believe what this vision was telling us is that the leopard, or Islam, has already taken over large areas of the bear, or the Russian bear. And what we're going to see is the Russian bear is going to be covered in leopard skin in the future. Right now, Islam in Russia, some sources say it's 6% Muslim. Other places said it's up to more like 15% Islam. Has Islam taken over Europe? This is Oscar Freisinger, Swiss member of parliament, and he goes on ranting and ranting. I'm just going to read part of it here. He is complaining about how Islam is taking over vast areas of Europe. He goes on to say, Europe is the cradle of the modern constitution democracy, the treasure house of human rights and freedom of opinion and expression, or at least it used to be that way until recently. It has increasingly been put in danger as our political elite bend their necks before a certain religious dogma referring to Islam, which is completely alien to our intellectual history and our values and rules of law. Now, the problem is with Oscar and with Swiss, and the problem with most of the people in Europe, and the problem with most of the people now in America is they want to have a nation of prosperity without God. And you see, that's what he goes on to complain about. But see, America and Europe has to choose, do they want Allah or do they want Jesus? They have to choose one or the other. He goes on to complain, this dogma demands total obedience from its followers. He's talking about Islam. They should never integrate into our system of values. It would be treason to them and is even punishable by death. They are supposed to they're supposed to conquer and subdue our Western world. Not with tanks, rockets, or riflemen. Islam is in no hurry. A long process of demoralization and slow motion occupation of our weakened, child-poor society is foreseen. Now he goes on, I'll flip through here, you can read it if you want to, but he goes on to complain how Islam is taking over much of Europe. What is this Islam? Allah was the main god of Muhammad's tribe, the Quraysh, who were in charge of some 300 plus idols they worshipped in the Kaaba. Idol worshippers believed that this reddish black meteor rock, about 12 inches in diameter, was sent by astral deities. Now, I could talk a lot about the sons of God and tie that in, but essentially at the heart of Islam, it's idol worship. They worship this meteorite, and it is nowhere close to Christianity. The pillars of Islam are commitment to Quran's message, fast during Ramadan, must do a pilgrimage or a Hajj to Mecca at least once in your lifetime, daily public affirmation of faith, there is no God but Allah, Muhammad is his prophet. Infidels must pay a tax, a zakat. They must pray 5 times a day, sunrise, noon, afternoon, sunset, and evening, and their head must touch the ground. Muhammad said, certainly, oh, by the way, you may be saying, well, how come we see these Muslims on their knees with their rear ends in the air and their face touching down the ground by the hundreds in these mosques? How do they get all these people to go to these mosques to pray? Here's how they do it. Muhammad said, certainly I decided to order a man to lead prayer and then take a flame to burn all those who had not left their houses for the prayer, burning them alive inside their homes. So essentially, if they didn't come to pray, Muhammad sent men to burn their houses down. They didn't come to pray. So I guess that'd be a pretty good way to get people into church. If you don't come to church, we're going to come burn your house down. How'd you like to have a religion like that? Is it a religion of peace? It goes on to say, peace in Islam is like a con man saying to a man, just leave me alone while I develop enough strength to come into your house, steal your wife, children, wealth, and kill you. The Quran says, slay the idolaters wherever you find them and take them captives and besiege them and lie in wait for them in every ambush. Then if they repent, keep up prayer and pay the poor rate, leave their free way to them. Islam allows husbands to hit and beat their wives. The Quran says in 4:34, if you fear high-handedness from your wives, remind them of teaching of God, then ignore them. When you go to bed, then hit them. If they obey you, you have no right to act against them. God is most high and great. Islam orders death for Muslim critics of Muhammad and the Quran and Sharia. In 1989, Iran's supreme leader issued a fatwa to assassinate Salman Rushdie. You remember that, for his satanic verses. Islam commands that highway robbers should be crucified or mutilated. Those who wage war against God and his messenger and strive to spread corruption in the land should be punished by death, crucifixion. Hold on here, something happened. Those who wage war against God and his messenger and strive to spread corruption in the land should be punished by death, crucifixion, the amputation of an alternate hand and foot. So there's not much forgiveness there, huh? He goes on to say, cut off the hands of thieves, whether they are male or female, as punishment for what they have done. Infidels, wherever they are found, they shall be seized and slain without mercy, a fierce slaughter, murdered, a horrible murdering. Jews of Medina and Kabar were massacred, women raped, and children sold. The Quran or the Hadith says, if you are not strong enough to kill your enemy, make friends with him. Let him feed you until you're strong enough to kill him. Muslims that don't practice jihad are like Sunday Christians that don't practice love. Allah said a prophet must slaughter before collecting captives. A slaughtered enemy is driven from the land. Muhammad, you crave the desires of this world as goods and the ransom captives would bring. But Allah desires killing them to manifest his religion. Those who follow Muhammad are ruthless to the unbelievers, but merciful to one another. Yeah, really. Yeah, well, they kill each other. I'm going to flip through some of these. As soon as Muslims believe they are stronger than their enemies, the Quran mandates they resume jihad. Before his death, Yasser Arafat stated, peace for us means the destruction of Israel and nothing else. Muhammad's own house and courtyard in Medina was used for worship, government, to plan conquest, and store weapons. Whereas a Christian church is considered a place of idolatry because Jesus is deified and should be destroyed. Muslims support terrorism, sanction jihad, and call for the destruction of the United States. They want to replace the U.S. Constitution with Islamic law. Here, U.S. Congressman from Minnesota, Keith Ellison, is being sworn in with hands on a Quran. In comparing Nazism to Islam, the challenge is finding any differences. Both require world conquest. Both demand the total subordination of the free will. For not submitting, they say the Nazis surrounded their homes and deprived them of food and water, whereas Muhammad would have surrounded their homes and deprived them of food and water also. The Egyptian daily Al-Akhbar, April 18, 2001, said, "Oh, our thanks go to the late Adolf Hitler, who wrought in advance the vengeance of Palestinians upon the worst despicable villains on the face of the earth. However, we rebuke Hitler for the fact that the vengeance was insufficient." He goes on to say, "Believers, take neither the Jews nor the Christians for your friends. Infidels are those who declare God is the Christ, the Son of Mary. Infidels are those that say God is one of three in a Trinity. Make war on the infidels who dwell around you. The infidels are your sworn enemies." Comparing Jesus to Muhammad, Jesus was a religious leader. Muhammad was a religious leader, but also a political leader and a military leader. Jesus never killed anyone. Muhammad killed an estimated 3,000 people, including beheading 700 Jews in Medina. Jesus never owned a slave. Muhammad received a fifth of the slaves taken in battle, including African slaves, as he was Arab. Jesus never married. Muhammad had at least 11 wives, plus slave wives, concubines, and women taken in battle. Here's a comparison between the U.S. Constitution and Islam. And the question is, can we allow Muslims in the United States? Can a Muslim be a good U.S. citizen? Will Islam and the Constitution work together? The First Amendment says the Congress shall make no law prohibiting the free exercise of religion, whereas Muhammad says whoever changes his Islamic religion, kill him. Islamic law relegates non-Muslims to dhimmi, that means you got to pay to stay alive, status, where they are not to propagate their customs amongst Muslims and cannot display a cross or star of David. The First Amendment says Congress shall not abridge the freedom of speech, but Islamic law says it prohibits other religious practices publicly, raising their voices during prayer, ringing church bells. We'll be right back after this message. Is Islam a religion of peace? And what is wrong with allowing mosques in America? Does the Bible foretell the future of Islam? Who is the leopard of Daniel chapter 7? Will Islam become a major world power? Will it invade the U.S.? What is al-Qaeda's 7-step plan to world domination? How does Islam destroy Western countries? Is Islam compatible with the Constitution? Will the Antichrist be a descendant of a Muslim? Is the Antichrist Arab? Who is the beast from the pit? Is Islam's Mahdi also the biblical Antichrist? Where does the Antichrist come from? Find out the answer to these and more questions in my new DVD, Islam in Bible Prophecy. Call 785-266-1112 or go to prophecyclub.com. Order Islam in Bible Prophecy. I invite you to order my brand new DVD, Stargates, Wormholes, and the Bottomless Pit. Have 10,000 scientists from 100 countries recreated an Egyptian Stargater wormhole? Was the idea for movies such as Contact, Hellboy, and Stargate SG-1 birthed from their plan to build a modern Stargate? Is their stated goal to recreate the Big Bang, the moment of creation, really a cover story for something more sinister? Will the 17-mile circular Large Hadron Collider, built 574 feet underneath Switzerland and France, open a door to another world? Some scientists fear it could easily open a wormhole or create a black hole and destroy this planet. Is it what fulfills the prophecy that the beast shall ascend out of the bottomless pit? Call 785-266-1112 and order Stargates, Wormholes, and the Bottomless Pit, or go to prophecyclub.com.
And now, back to the program.
The First Amendment says Congress shall not abridge the freedom of speech. But Islamic law says it prohibits other religious practices publicly, raising their voices during prayer, ringing church bells, or saying anything considered insulting to Islam. The First Amendment guarantees the right of the people to peaceably assemble. But Islamic law says non-Muslims cannot repair their places of worship or build new ones. They must allow Muslims to participate in their private meetings. The First Amendment also says that we have the right to petition the government for a redress of grievances. But Islamic law says non-Muslims are not to harbor any hostility towards the Islamic State or give comfort to those who disagree with Islamic government. The Second Amendment says the right of the people shall not be infringed to keep and bear arms. Islamic law says non-Muslims cannot possess arms, swords, or weapons of any kind. The Third Amendment says that they cannot be forced to quarter someone in their house. Non-Muslims, we must entertain and feed Muslims who want to stay in their home for 3 days and for a longer period if the Muslim falls ill and they cannot prevent Muslim travelers from staying in their places of worship. The Fourth Amendment guarantees the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. Islamic law says if a non-Muslim rides on a horse with a saddle and a bridle, the horse can be taken away. The Fifth Amendment says no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime without due process of law. Muhammad said no Muslim should be killed for killing a kafir or an infidel. The Sixth Amendment guarantees a right to a public trial by an impartial jury. The Seventh Amendment says the right of a trial by jury shall be preserved. Islamic law says non-Muslims may not testify in court against a Muslim. The Eighth Amendment says there shall not be cruel and unusual punishment. The Quran says, cut off the hands of thieves, whether they are male or female, as punishment for what they have done, a deterrent from Allah. A woman who has been raped is punished with 100 stripes. The 13th Amendment says no slavery or involuntary servitude. The Quran says accommodates slavery as Muhammad owns slaves. 14th Amendment says that we have an equal protection of laws. The Quran does not consider non-Muslims equal to Muslims. 15th Amendment, the right of the citizens to vote shall be denied. The right of the citizens to vote shall not be denied on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Whereas Islamic law, strict interpretation, does not allow voting, as democracy is considered people setting themselves in the place of Allah by making the laws. 19th Amendment guarantees women the right to vote. In strict Islamic countries, women cannot even vote or even drive a car. Such as, this is the picture of the full video of Muammar Gaddafi's capture, and you see how they treated the fellow that was once their leader. Libyans are rejoicing over Gaddafi's death. Can you imagine seeing people rejoice in the streets at the death of the United States president? We may not like him, but I don't think you'd see people out doing that. A mosque is 4 things. It is a place of religion. It is also political, military, and civil. What is the goal of Islam? I believe that through many different things, and the Bible teaches that the objective of Islam is to create not just a caliphate, but to take over the world. They've even come up with the flag. This is called the caliphate flag. It's a political, religious state compromising the Muslim community and the lands and the peoples under its dominion in the centuries following the death of the Prophet Muhammad. A caliph is a civil and a religious leader of a Muslim state, and they've essentially created a whole flag. So what is the goal of Islam? World domination. Jesus came to seek and to save the lost. The benefits would be eternal life, blessings on earth, and love. whereas the Quran is to make the world submit to the Quran, Islam, and their benefits would be multiple wives and 72 virgins in the hereafter. And of course, we remember this fella and this one. What do you mean there are no virgins? Stop, we're out of virgins, the comic says. Huh? No virgins? Gaddafi, all these people going, looking for their 72 virgins. Let's talk about Islam and prophecy. Here's where it all started. Genesis 16:1. Sarah, Abraham's wife, bare him no children. And so she said, go into my handmaid. Abraham did, she conceived, and his name was Ishmael, and that's where the Arabs all started. Then the angel came to her while Hagar was pregnant and gave a prophecy. Said, the one inside your womb will become a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand will be against him. He will dwell in the presence of all his brethren, and that's exactly what the Muslims do. If you go to Israel, you don't find like a Chinatown or a Mexican town or an Arab town. In Israel, what you do is find that the Arabs, like putting salt and pepper on your potatoes, for example, have spread themselves throughout the whole community. And when we were in Israel, my wife and I used to be tour hosts. We would take people over there every year to show them all around. And the guide there said, he said the thing of it, the difference is in Israel, the Jews, they sweep up their house and they all the dirt in one pile, and they take it out and they put it in the trash. He said the Arabs, he said, they sweep all the dirt up into a pile and they open the window and they throw it outside. He said, because outside is not their area. He said, so you see all of this trash blowing in the wind and piled up around their house there. In other words, they live in the presence of all of their brethren. They're a wild man. They live by fear. They live by the sword. They live by killing people. Genesis 17. And it went on to say, as for Ishmael, 12 princes shall come out of him. In other words, the angel said, yes, he's going to make Ishmael a great nation. 12 princes will come out of him, make him a great nation. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac. Obadiah 1:10, I'm going to skip that. We already talked about that. Genesis 49:1, and Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. Here was the situation. Jacob's about to die. He calls his 12 sons. Now watch what was prophesied to his sons. Genesis 25:23, and the Lord said unto her, now this is talking about to Rebekah, his wife, 2 nations are in your womb. One shall be stronger, that's going to be Jacob, and the other one is going to be Esau, the two nations in his womb. One will be stronger than the other. The elder, which is the Esau and Arabs, shall serve the younger, or Jacob and Israel. There were there were twins in the womb. The first came out red, which was Esau. Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, whereas Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. I think it's very interesting because when you look into researching the difference between Esau and Isaac, you find this. This is the Nobel Prize. Since 1902, the best and brightest people in the world have been awarded this Nobel Prize. 6 categories are given away: literature, peace, medicine, economics, physics, and chemistry. So far, there have been 813 individuals and 20 organizations that have received it. 1/3 of the awards have gone to U.S. citizens, 14% to Californians, 165 to Jews, 23%. 23% of the awards have gone to Jews. Less than 1% of those awards have gone to Arabs. Only 6 Arabs have won it, which is 0.008%, whereas Arabs are 20% of the world population. In other words, it's saying that Isaac has been really blessed and Esau has not been blessed. The Bible says, Isaac I have loved and Esau I have hated. Continuing our story, the researching of Islam. Genesis 27:28. So, he calls his sons together. Here's what he prophesies to Jacob. This is what Jacob prophesies to Isaac. He says, I've given to you the fatness of the earth. And I've looked that word up, and I believe that that word is interpreted correctly as saying crude oil. I'm giving you crude oil. Yet, if you look into Israel right now, brief history on that is since 1953, there's been 505 holes drilled in Israel. Out of the 505, only 7 wells at the last check are producing crude oil. In other words, it's a dismal failure looking for oil in Israel. But I believe I found 30 scriptures in the Bible that says in the last days, massive amounts of oil.
Time has run out, but I want to say thank you for listening and thank you for your prayers and your gifts of support. God bless. Now from the Prophecy Club, some exciting opportunities for you. Is Islam a religion of peace? And what is wrong with allowing mosques in America? Does the Bible foretell the future of Islam? Who is the leopard of Daniel chapter 7? Will Islam become a major world power? Will it invade the U.S.? What is al-Qaeda's 7-step plan to world domination? How does Islam destroy Western countries? Is Islam compatible with the Constitution? Will the Antichrist be a descendant of a Muslim? Is the Antichrist Arab? Who is the beast from the pit? Is Islam's Mahdi also the biblical Antichrist? Where does the Antichrist come from? Find out the answer to these and more questions in my new DVD, Islam in Bible Prophecy. Call 785-266-1112 or go to prophecyclub.com. Order Islam in Bible Prophecy. I invite you to order my brand new DVD, Stargates, Wormholes, and the Bottomless Pit. Have 10,000 scientists from 100 countries recreated an Egyptian Stargater wormhole? Was the idea for movies such as Contact, Hellboy, and Stargate SG-1 birthed from their plan to build a modern Stargate? Is their stated goal to recreate the Big Bang, the moment of creation, really a cover story for something more sinister? Will the 17-mile circular Large Hadron Collider, built 574 feet underneath Switzerland and France, open a door to another world? Some scientists fear it could easily open a wormhole or create a black hole and destroy this planet. Is it what fulfills the prophecy that the beast shall ascend out of the bottomless pit? Call 785-266-1112 and order Stargates, Wormholes, and the Bottomless Pit, or go to prophecyclub.com. Karen Anderson spent 10 hours a day for 10 years, 5 hours a day for 20 years, learning the secrets of Revelation from an astronomical point of view. None of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand, says the Bible. She says the book of Revelation is a call for the tribes of Israel to return by explaining the story of the Son of Man coming from one end of heaven to the other. By understanding Jesus' role in the heaven, it helps us fulfill our role on the earth. Many men have tried to read this message, but it is hidden until the appropriate time. The stars are a second witness to the Bible, designed to be understood now. A letter from God to us to prove Jesus is the Messiah. Explaining this story called The Word of God and Jesus is the Word. Topics are the purpose of the earth, Bullinger's Witness of the Stars and Clarence Larkin, the wedding feast, the offerings of the temple and the man, the sickles of Revelation 14:14, the Great Seal and its secret purpose, the Great Pyramid and its role in early Christianity. 5 DVDs, almost 10 hours, valued at $150, all for a gift of just $50 or more. It's the astronomical book of Revelation. Call 785-266-1112. 5 DVDs, 10 hours, astronomical book of Revelation. Gift of $50 or more, 785-266-1112.